Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me again. Your girl Composy on That's It, That's All. That's it, that's all. So, this video, as you can tell by the title, is all about Ben Shapiro getting smacked down, okay? You know what? I take that back. He didn't get smacked down. He just really embarrassed himself. For somebody who has been touring all over the United States, making a point of, our civil discourse has just gotten so bad. We're not able to sit down and talk to one another without it being screaming and a lot of emotions. This is about facts. This is not about feelings. That's one of his favorite things to say, right? This is about facts. This is not about feelings. Facts don't care about your feelings. Well, guess what, man? They don't care about your feelings neither. And you know what? Apparently, your lack of research doesn't care about your feelings either, because the show did expose you. You made yourself look like a straight-up fool and a tool all at once on the BBC, okay? So for you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to have a link to the video in the description down below. Ben Shapiro, and this news is actually from last week. I'm just now getting to it today, but this is from last week. Ben Shapiro went on BBC's a BBC show with a conservative host, Andrew Neil. Now, Andrew Neil is known to be one of the most conservative journalists that they have working on the BBC. And so when Mr. Neil was asking Ben a few, basic questions, this dude could not take it. His feelings and his facts both just flew out the window, and he went into straight histrionics. Oh, well, you just need to be honest. You have a bias. You're a liberal. And that man was just looking at him like, you are the most ridiculous little thing I've ever heard of and I've ever seen. I'm happy that this has finally happened to Ben Shapiro. He has a tendency, I talked about it in the video about Meghan McCain and Seth Meyers. Ben Shapiro has been able to take a tone that stays calm, that stays very measured. They keep repeating the same BS talking points, but it always stays very calm and very measured. And this is one of the first times that we have seen him lose his cool. And the fact that he would lose his cool with someone who's asking him some very, very simple questions, not anything that's incendiary or that would suggest that this man is some kind of a ambush reporter or something like that, And this dude just totally melted. Snowflake indeed. I'm gonna play some of this audio for you guys. Listen to this.
Pretty evident. The fact that I've called out President Trump, a member of a party of which I am a member, repeatedly when I think that he has done things that are immoral, I think is decent evidence that I'm looking at least for a civil conversation.
Well, as you say in your book, you say that there's quite a key phrase, we are so angry at each other right now. But as I say, aren't you part of that anger? Aren't you encouraging that anger? For example, you described Mr. Obama's State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist mentality in action.
Well, I think that if you want to argue with the characterization, then we can talk about what exactly his State of the Union address said. Is it charged language in politics? Sure. The problem that I have is not with charged language in politics, which I'm generally in favor of. I like a robust public debate and a very loud and spirited public debate. I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I'm talking about is the assumption that people with whom we disagree politically are inherently of bad character or, in your words, want to bring us back to the dark ages.
But again, it was your description of the State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist.
The wording of President Trump's 2012 address was bad and wrong.
That's all. There are plenty of things that are bad and wrong, but it doesn't make them fascist.
Well,
and it wasn't
I
Trump,
suppose
it was Obama.
That's true, but if you'd like to read me the column out loud, I suppose I can critique it for you.
Oh, well, again, with Mr. Obama, you said, and you're Jewish yourself, I only mention that because to put this in context, the Jews who vote for Obama are, by and large, Jews in name only, Ginos, you call them.
My statement was based on the fact that Jews in the United States, as an ethnic group, are largely irreligious, which is true by every single poll. Jews are the most irreligious group in the United States. As an Orthodox Jew who actually takes Judaism seriously, the point that I am making is that most Jews who are ethnically Jewish are not religiously Jewish in any context.
No. The point you were making is that Jews who vote for Obama are Jews in name only.
I said that, yes, that is correct, that Jews who voted for Barack Obama, a progenitor of the Iran deal, a person who was cracking down on religious liberty, a person who spent much of his career as president of the United States attempting to deprive Israel of the necessities to defend itself, that people, Jews who voted for President Obama, by and large, cared about Judaism far less than they did about other priorities.
Did you said they should
Correct.
turn their badge in as a Jew?
Yes, I believe that if you are somebody who takes Judaism seriously, that comes along with ideological commitment.
I mean, I guess.
Also, I hope you're having fun, by the way, going through every old tweet that I've ever sent to try and do gotcha questions. But if you'd like to have a discussion about my general philosophy or things I've done in, say, I don't know, that was 2012, so it's now 2019. If you'd like to discuss something I've done in, say, like the past 5 years, why don't we do that? How about that?
Because your book is a criticism of how angry America is and how America has to do better. And I'm simply
I have an
trying to
entire
point
list
out,
on my website, sir. On my list, I have an entire website of dumb, bad things that I've said. I'm simply trying to point out
some of the things you've said that seem to me to help to stoke that anger. For example, you said
Sure.
Israelis like to build, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Well, as I say in an article entitled, here's a list of all the giant, bad, dumb things I've ever said.
Was that dumb?
But yes, that's a dumb tweet. And not only, but it is also important to mention that the next few tweets clarify that tweet is specifically referring to the Hamas leadership, which, by the way, a BBC I've seen is relatively reticent to condemn.
No, actually, it wasn't. What you went on to do and say, you are correct about the slur on Arabs. It's not all Arabs that want to live in open sewage and blow things up. It's just Palestinians. You went on to say.
No, it says the ones who take sides against Israel in the Israel-Palestinian conflict.
Population is rotten to the core, you went on to say. Not Hamas. Palestinian Arab population.
I say that by poll numbers, they elected Hamas. They educate their children in school that Israel should be obliterated, sir.
I guess.
If you want to read, honestly, this is a giant waste of time in the sense that the entire interview is designed for you to shout slogans or old things that I've said at me. I don't see how this forwards the debate. You talk about undermining the public discourse. It seems to me that simply going through and finding lone things that sound bad out of context and then hitting people with them is a way for you to make a quick buck on BBC off the fact that I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you.
There are not many bucks to be made on the BBC, unlike American broadcasting.
How
Mr.
ignorant
Shapiro.
can you be? Should have researched.
The point I'm trying to make is that your words are hardly designed to produce the consensus and understanding that the book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on, but so much of what you've said in the past would seem to turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
I just asked you a question.
And I asked you a question. You failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time. If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't
answer
care.
the
I don't
questions?
frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
Ooh, look at them.
And I've never heard of
Temperatures
you until I briefed
rising.
myself for this.
Y'all hear that? Temperature was straight up rising, this young man. His normal little whiny voice must have went up about 2 octaves in that last minute. I don't see what the problem was with the interview. These are things that you said. In light of you're trying to make the argument that the other side, because that's what the argument is. Anytime people talk about how fractured and how, divided our civil discourse is and how divided we are, who has been dividing us over the last 30 years? Seriously, be objective. Who has been dividing us? And don't tell me it's the party that's trying to say, I see that you are somebody else different than what I am, and I'm embracing that. Because that is not division. What's division is telling people, no matter who you are, you need to still be the image that I have of you. You're not allowed to come outside of that. I said it in my video last week. Some of these people are more offended when I was talking about Dan Crenshaw, as a matter of fact, Representative Dan Crenshaw. These people are more offended by being called a bigot or being called a racist or being called any of these things that the policies that they support would indeed show them to be. So again, facts don't care about your feelings, Ben. And facts don't care about your old tweets. And we don't care that you tried to go through and do a mea culpa in some page about, on some article about your old tweets. That doesn't matter. You said what you said. And the point of your whole shtick at this point is we need to tone down our rhetoric towards one another so that we can have better political discourse. I don't see how any of those things that Mr. Neal read off would help to better our political discourse. I'm sorry, but I'm happy to see that dude finally get owned. I'm happy to see him get his, okay? And that's it, that's all.